Hi, welcome to this talk about how to identify twin flames. I've decided to talk about it since lately I've been reading a lot of comments that people have about what is a twin flame and how to identify it. And it's a very interesting subject. It's a very interesting topic to consider, especially since there's a lot of movement regarding the twin flame meeting lately. And there's also a lot of confusion about the twin flames. So, to be realistic and to start talking about it, we need to understand the word just to start with. I'm going to be the most objective that one can be regarding this very mystical concept and experience. But let's just start with understanding what a twin flame is. Because you see, most people think that it is about being as a couple on the physical plane, and yes, it has to do with that as well. Yet, in order to get to that point that we could be together at the physical, we need to come and bring down and actually become the flame in the physical body and the consciousness of the physical body. We need to become the flame so we can have a twin flame um, communion, a twin flame physical integration. Okay, so let's just start from the beginning. What is a twin flame? What does flame represent? Because we could call it the soulmate, right? We can say twin soul, whatever. There are so many possibilities and so many experiences, but we are calling this a twin flame meeting, a twin flame. So let's understand what flame is, because twin, it is quite obvious what a twin is. But flame, let's consider deeply what flame is. When we talk about flame, we're talking about fire. Fire is the element of spirit. So when we are talking about a flame and we are talking about fire and we are talking about spirit, we are talking about a spiritual relationship in essence. This is a spiritual relationship in essence. Now, what does spiritual mean? Because, okay, we understand fire, spiritual. What does spiritual mean? Spirit is not manifested per se in the physical realm. This is matter. We are in this third dimension. We are divided between the physical realm, the mental realm, the spiritual realm. Okay. So if we understand flame as coming from spirit, related to spirit because of the fire element, then we are talking about a spiritual relationship. The essence of twin flames is spiritual relationship. Now, here comes the awkward thing. Then, if it's just a spiritual relationship and we are here in the physical dimension, which obviously has the taints of spirit all over, everything's actually spirit, but it is manifesting in different dimensions. The physical realm, it's the most limited and impermanent of the dimensions that we live in, and the flame of spirit is actually uh, coming from the transcendent world where there's no time and space. It's the very highest dimension that we can think of, and it's not part of the duality world that we live in. Spirit is beyond duality. So, the twin flame is the essential part of ourselves that is beyond duality. Now, in order to experience in this world, in this third dimension, the twin flame experiences, obviously, uh, there has to be some sort of connection either to the twin that is in another dimension and has not incarnated, or to our twin incarnated in the physical body. Sorry. Yet, uh, this twin might or might not be spiritually conscious or spiritually awakened. Most of us are not totally spiritually awakened. We have experiences that really gives us a sense of the existence of spirit, of other dimensions, of the transcendence. We do have them, but most of us are living this life based on our ego selves and the needs of ego and the physical dimension, which is okay. I mean, we're here to experience that. Now, why has this twin flame experience has been manifesting so strongly for so many people in the last couple of decades? I'm going to share a couple of things on how to identify and then why is this happening. Um, but I guess I'll go first on why this is happening and then how to identify. Well, we are obviously in a change of eras. We are definitely we are in a change of eras. The Uranian Aquarius energy is coming so strongly through technology and how fast things are moving. Well, it's all part of the Aquarian age, and this new age has to do with a change in consciousness completely. The change in consciousness has to do with breaking down all the structures and all the ideas we have created about reality, all the things we think that are uh, real. And by real, I mean that we normally think that what is real is what's truth, truthful, and not necessarily. We can have a reality, that's the reality we live in, but that doesn't mean that it supports higher consciousness or higher truth. It is just a reality that we have co-created and that supports the kind of life that we have lived as humans so far. And it is being proved that most of the structures that we have created are obsolete. Let's talk basically about religious structures, political structures, economic structures. They seem to be falling apart into pieces, and they've been falling apart into pieces for already quite some time. But changes of era don't happen from one day to the other, but they take decades and maybe centuries to really unfold and come into being. And the reason why twin flames are coming is because we need to break down and break apart and destroy all the psychological structures that we all carry in the collective unconscious to have built this reality that we have co-created, which is, in many ways falling apart and stemming from the bottom is coming a new way of living, more conscious, more ecological, more in tune with nature, all those things that are stemming very silently, and all the major big things that we have taken for granted and that have been the base of other reality that we have lived are crumbling and falling apart little by little. So, why then? Why now twin flames? Obviously, twin flames come because they are the only beings that can touch us to the deepest core of ourselves and to help us break apart, break down all these fictitious, illusionary realities that we have created. They are so ingrained, so anchored into the reality that we live, that it is not easy just by being conscious or being aware of something, because being aware is one thing, being conscious is another. It's not exactly easy to be aware that we need to change and then changing. It takes a long time. So they come to rip us apart. It's the most amazing relationship that we can ever have in our lives. They come to rip us apart. So why is this the most amazing relationship? Well, because it reveals the essence of the flame relationship, the spirit relationship. Uh, and from then I will go in how to identify the twin flames. But this is important that we consider, because you see a lot of people are confusing a very intense relationship, because all the karmic relationships, the soulmate relationships, the twin flame relationships are all coming up to the surface, and we have a lot of things to uh, resolve, relate to, and process before we can go clean to another era with a higher consciousness, right? Okay, so there's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of, is this a twin flame or not? I myself, for 7 years, wondered and doubted so strongly whether my experience was a twin flame relationship or not. And then I came to understand why they come together, why we meet with our twin flames, and what's going on. This is just my experience. I completely understand that there are many other views and many other possibilities of what is a twin flame and what's going on. So that's why I wanted to start with understanding the definition or the word per se of twin flame, because you see, it's a spirit, and we want to uh, come from the desire of our conditioning and training. And not only that, it's in our genetic DNA, the desire to be with another and become one and to fuse with that another. And that has a lot to do with twin flames, yes. It's just that the way that we have learned to relate and to believe that, we can fuse just with anybody or have this very deep soul connection, it doesn't happen that easily, and it doesn't happen with many in our lifetime. In one lifetime, you can have, a couple of very intense soul connections, but twin flame is always going to be just one that can reach so deep into ourselves that is going to shake in everything. Okay, now I understand that the process for every person is going to be a little different. The experiences maybe are going to be a little different, because the energies meeting are in a different level of consciousness, and different have are vibrating into a different kind of resonance that is going to attract the kind of experiences that they need to go through to hopefully reach to the same point. Yet there are some characteristics that might be normally the same for most twin flames. Again, this is not a rule, but this is something that seems to be repeating in many cases. Like, for instance, living separate in separate countries, separate cities of the same country. That is one thing that has been recurrent in most twin flame experiences. Another one has been that one might be married and the other one not. Another one is that one is more spiritually evolved than the other. And but there, I mean, when I say spiritually evolved than the other, I mean anchoring the spirit consciousness into the manifested level, because both at the spirit level are one, and they are wisdom, love, freedom, and everything all together. Okay, so when I'm talking about manifesting or being more spiritually awake, I mean being bringing the higher consciousness to the manifested level, to this third dimension level, with more awareness. Okay, that is the only thing. And well, twins normally have a hell of a relationship. It's not the at the personal level, at the ego level, is the most difficult relationship we will encounter, um, because it comes to rip us apart. It comes to shake all of our structures, all of the illusions that we have created about reality. So it comes to smash us like this, like Hulk did in the movie of the Avengers, and went like this to Thor's brother. I don't remember his name. Well, that's what they come to do to us. And obviously it's not going to happen to every single twin flame, because there are going to be twin flames that are attuned into a higher consciousness already, and they are here to anchor the essence of twin flame meeting, which is unconditional love, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, because we need to start experiencing more about what really is to love, not from the selfish personal perspective, which is the one that has caused a lot of struggles in this world, but from the more higher uh, spiritual dimension of love. And that's what twin flames gives us. They give us the clear understanding of unconditional love, by making us understand that we are actually one. Not just understand, we experience oneness with our twin flames. We experience oneness. That is, there's no fear, there's no sense of separateness. There, we get to the point of understanding that we are one, and there's nothing to be afraid of, because fear doesn't exist at the spiritual level. Fear exists when we come to duality and we are separated, and this sense of separation is the basis of all of our fears. So when we experience, because it's not about understanding in our heads that, okay, twin flames is about being one. No, that's the theory of it. What counts is to experience that we are actually one, to experience no fear, the zone of no fear, to experience the true essence of love, which is not sexually based. We have that need of sexuality when we come to duality, but a spiritual relationship goes beyond the passion of the need, or the need of the sexual connection, the passion behind it. There's another kind of passion, which is, I wouldn't even use the word passion, because in love, in unconditional love, the way we have come to understand passions, like this very fiery, intense feeling, it's different. It's so different. It's so peaceful. It gives us all the peace in our inner core that we could ever desire to experience. That's what the union of the twin flames gives us: profound inner peace of being home. So, okay, at the beginning, when now, excuse me if I am going to a little talk about my experience. It's just so I can relate, or maybe that you can relate to some aspects of it. Obviously, at the beginning, when I encountered this twin flame of mine, I had no idea it was a twin flame. I didn't have ever heard about twin flames. It was so intense. I could see him, even though I never met him physically, and until one day that I saw him for 3 hours. Well, I could see him as if I was looking with my bionic eyes through him. It was such an amazing, strange feeling of feeling home. But his spirit, or his soul, his higher self, was so completely different from his personal self that, I mean, at the personal level, we had such major big issues that you would not believe. I guess if you were, you probably believe, because if you're going through twin flame experiences, I'm sure you know the separation, the coming, the separation, the coming, the fights, the struggles, everything is just the roller coaster of it is just inevitable. But it needs to be understood why this is happening. They come to rip us apart from the illusion of the reality we are co-creating in this world now. And obviously, I had so many mystical experiences that it was the only way. I was always wanting to reject him, because it's like, no, this could not be a twin flame. No, he's horrible. We have a horrible relationship. I don't want a relationship with him. It's like, ah. But at the spiritual level, oh my God, it's like through lucid dreaming, through meditation, and I was taking a shower and suddenly, woo, all the connections, or suddenly I was listening to a song, and suddenly all the movement of energy that happened inside of me, uh, God, just the experiences of the twin flames mainly uh, are difficult to pin down, because they give us so much at the spiritual level, and sometimes we just know there's a strong connection. We don't understand what's going on, and whoa, I feel blessed that I was given so many clear messages coming from the spirit world, um, that helped me understand really uh, all that was really happening here. In order for me to have reached that level of understanding of unconditional love, I had to go through three stages. At the third stage is when I finally got it. Because you see, it's a process by which it's like planting, planting something in the soil. We need to first work the land and put good soil, so whatever we plant grows nicely. So the same thing here. It's like the first experience of unconditional love just uh, gave me a sense of different dimensions, the existence of different dimensions. And it was like, oh my God, I was, for like a week or so, my mind was not on this earth. I was like gone somewhere, and it was so hard to come back. It's like, oh my God, I need somebody that helps me understand what's going on. It's like, this is so crazy. How can this be happening? My kundalini energy uh, arised strongly, even though I had had kundalini experiences before, but they really became so strong, with all the movement of energy in my spine. And oh God, I ended up in the hospital and, well, so many things that happened. But as the kundalini was rising, I was opening my mind through the awful experiences that I was having with him. at the personal level, but all the amazing, just nameless, amazing, boundless experiences that were happening to me at the spiritual level. So all the time I was wondering, is this soul or spirit have anything to do with this human being? Because they seem to be completely the opposite. But many times I really even felt that his soul, even though at at the personal level, at the human level, he seems to be very far behind of his inner growth or inner awareness or spiritual awakening. Not even interested in that, I guess. But that soul, for me, it was like, man, he's stronger than me. Uh, that energy is so much stronger than me that even there was a time that I felt that he came with this disconnection from soul, uh, just to help me awaken to this energy. Maybe that's something we agreed on before. I have no idea. I don't want to speculate that much, and I can think of intuition, to speak intuitively, but in this subject we only need to go into our hearts and really uh, learn to trust our hearts, and that's one of the hardest part of the twin flame relationship or the twin flame meeting, because it brings us so deep into ourselves that it really makes us work this confidence into what we really experience. Because you see, when we go inside, a lot of what we see when we go inside is not exactly the spiritual dimension. It is what our mind and our ego wants us to believe is spiritual. So there, you see, there's so many layers of going inside that we need to work, and to awaken into our own intuition. It's not an easy task, but obviously twin flames definitely help us. uh, I see people, mature people, I mean, people in their 50s, in their 60s, with so much insecurity about what they're experiencing. That is because we are so conditioned to live outside of ourselves that trusting ourselves has become something very difficult. And um, through the process, hopefully, if we are able to use the experiences of the twin flame to find all the weaknesses that we need to um, reveal in ourselves and heal and transform, or just maybe acknowledge the real strength, acknowledge our inner power, acknowledge our inner essence. Not only we have to center on the bad, weak spots, but also in all the amazing power that we can encounter through connecting and giving value to the deepest layers of our heart. Because the most superficial layers of the heart, which is where most of us remain unless we learn to go deep, are ego based. Not an easy task. It's not an easy task. Yet it is so amazingly profound. So if you feel in one way or the other that this twin flame, which is spirit, flame comes from the spirit, is giving you mystical experiences to reveal the path to unconditional love, be sure that this is probably your twin flame. Because you see, we have experiences of love with our family, our friends, maybe with the very intense soulmate relationships and stuff, but unconditional love awakens through our twin flame meeting. And I think that's the most important part of twin flame, because unconditional love is not third dimension love. Okay? It's not loving someone just as they are. That's not unconditional love necessarily. Okay? Um, Unconditional love is understanding that there's no separation, that there's no fear or need to fear. There is freedom, and we are actually connected to the oneness. That's maybe the beginning of understanding how we are one with our twin flame, and therefore, when we go to spirit, we're uh, part of that oneness through the spirit, where there's no duality anymore. There's so much more that maybe we don't understand, and we can intuitively grasp and hold. You see, because we have this desire to fuse with another. That's not, that doesn't come just from anywhere. We have it in our historical created data when we came, that we were one once, and we separated through exactly this is how I see it. We separated like this, okay, to come to duality, to come to the third dimension. Our soul, which is part of the third dimension, had to be divided into two polar extremes. And this is fire and ice, obviously, which is the opposites, fire and water, fire and ice. Um, and This is the Tai Chi symbol. This is it has everything. If we could just understand the symbol, we would understand absolutely everything. This is another way of maybe putting it, if we want to understand the the twin flames, how we keep each other in our hearts. We are taken. A part of us is inside of the other of the other energy, when we are divided into polarities, into this polarity to exist in this dimension. We are taking inside of us a part of that being. That's why this being, this twin flame, is the only one that can touch us so extremely deeply, because it has, that's why, that's the twin part. It has a part of us that is reflecting our essence, is reflecting back who we truly are. And that's the twin part. Again, as I mentioned, that's the twin part of the flame experience. So you see, this is amazing. This is amazing. I found in the tarot card that I use, which is the thought, the high priestess is another way of looking at it, if we don't want to use the Tai Chi symbol. But here, Artemis, well, you see the bottom part is the male part, and the higher part is the female part. We are two in one. It's a beautiful, beautiful image of self resourcefulness, but we are self resourceful when we are one with our other part. And another card that I really, really, really love from this tarot card, which in here just resembles art, but this is another way of seeing it. You see, in the heart, there's the six, the number six, which is related to the lovers, and we have the yin and yang as well, the white and the dark, the fire and the ice. We are one. You see, these might be mystical, or this was must be they are from, another higher dimension, symbolism, but they have a lot of things to do with this idea of twin flames, this idea um, of union, of mystical union. So if we actually do understand just the word, if we start by understanding the word twin flame, and understanding that this is mainly an essentially a spiritual relationship. Okay, now how do we come together in our physical dimension? Because if we are encountering this, is it's unfair that we get a little taste of what twin flame is, and that we cannot actually become one in the physical. Well, in the physical, like, we can energetically fuse, but the physical dimension, like, I cannot bring my hand inside the other one and be one hand. So in the physical, there's always going to be like this separation, but at higher dimensions, this is just an illusion. We've heard of it, that this world is an illusion, and it's mainly an illusion, seen from a higher perspective. But we are living this reality. So how do we manifest the union of the twin flames in the physical realm? Okay, this is what I understand and what I can offer. You see, by helping us get rid of all this waste, this illusionary waste that is clinging to our uh, subconscious level, that is creating the reality that has to be changed. So we meet the twin flame, so we break apart that truth, that reality, and start creating a new reality based on higher consciousness. And when we get rid of that waste, of that garbage, that is obsolete now and has created this reality that we live in, and we become a more, this is the important part, we become more a purified filter of spirit into the physical realm. We become a more purified filter of spirit in our physical dimension, and therefore every cell, every atom of our being is emanating higher consciousness, and so our twin flame does the same. Then the meeting, that unification, the union, the coming together to enjoy the sense of home with another in this physical manifested level, is going to be able to happen without the struggle that we are living now. And it's probably going to be quite an interesting experience to feel that sense of fusion and oneness with our twin flame in this physical dimension. But I guess that if I'm coming from understanding the word twin flame and understanding the flame and the relationship to spirit, it is easier to understand that as we become a more purified channel of spirit, purified filter of spirit into this manifested world, it's going to be easier for ourselves to be united to our twins in this world, in this dimension. And then we go back to spirit as one by acknowledging the oneness in this world, and start the game all over again from scratch. So we are born again, and just like, like the different seasons is all cyclical. Well, the game of being one and coming together, and going through all the phases of darkness and separation and everything, coming to the higher consciousness of union and going back to spirit, and then again going back to the game of the third dimension illusionary world, or whatever, as we want to see it or experience it. It's all going back, and seasonal, cyclical uh, aspect of creation, and fractal reflection of the cycles. So I hope this has been helpful in understanding how to identify the twin flames. Um, Not everybody has to have Kundalini experiences. Um, Not everybody has to go through so much hell necessarily in the personal relationship with the twin. But I would say, just to resume and finish, the couple things I've said, normally they're separated by countries or long distances or cities. Uh, Maybe one is married and the other one not, or both are married and they cannot come together for whatever reasons. One is uh, more in tune with spirit than the other. Um, at the personal level, it's a very horrible relationship, yet it is so difficult to be apart, and we need to understand why. Obviously, we're seeing our twin, and it's like, oh, I desire to be home, but we can't because we have to struggle so much through the personal ego selves. And well, if you have Kundalini rising, that could be also a sign. And the most profound would be the awakening to the experience, not the concept, the experience of unconditional love, no separateness, no fear, and everything. But that's a process. As I said, it didn't happen to me from as soon as I met him that, oh, unconditional love. No, I had to go through a process to reach that level. And actually, it didn't take that long after the third experience of unconditional love for our relationship to sort of uh, start fading away. Uh, but I feel, I carry in me that oneness and that experience. So it's not that I desire to be with him on the physical right now, because I know it's not going to work, because I understand now that we need to be both in a good um, level of consciousness or spirit to manifest twin flames on the physical realm. So I'm sure there's many more, and please be feel free to share. I hope this insight helps you be a little more clear about the twin flames if you had any doubts whatsoever. But trust, trust your what your heart says. Just learn discernment. We need to discern, because that our egos are very, very strong for all of us. Our egos are the ones that we have lived with most of our lives, so they are very, very. It's a very strong presence, and ego wants what it wants. I want to be with him. I want to be with her. Whatever. I want to be with my twin flame. I love that person. That's ego. The flame doesn't need to be, because it's not separate. We are one. So we would love to be together, but we need to really understand this concept very into our most deep part of ourselves, so we can really hold it and treasure it for what it is, and just be thankful that we have had this experience. And whether we continue alone or not, or with our twin or without our twin, but we continue with other relationships, because there's more things that we need to experience in order to clear that filter, so we can one day meet with our twin. Well, we can accept that and just walk and continue in our um, in our path to higher consciousness. So I don't know if this resonates with you. I hope it does. And if it doesn't, it's perfectly okay to have other experiences of twin flames. This is just an outlook of it, and I hope it's been helpful. If you want, please subscribe. This is a this is a bilingual channel. I do talks in English, and also I do talks in Spanish, mostly in Spanish, but I do too in English. And if this has been helpful, please share it with other people that are struggling through understanding the twin flame experience. Thank you very much. And I also would like you to watch the 22, I think are 22 chapters of the Twin Flame story at the blog, which is awakening.goypaz.com. I shared, I think in 21 or 22 chapters, I don't remember, what it was to start having the experience, and how it was unfolding, to be aware of what was going on. All the confusion, all that. Is it or is it not? Is it or is it not? What's going on? This connection that was so strong, all the mystical experiences, the amazing experiences that were happening at the spiritual level, and then the horrible relationship at the personal level. And so, you might want to watch those, or if you just want to see what title of the chapters resonates with you, you can watch that. And great. It's been great to share that with you. I'm doing this because it's become, lately, in this last couple of weeks, the twin flame issues have been rising, and I had this need to share with you, about um, these insights that I've had, and I'm glad to share. So thank you very, very much for your time. And please share this information with others. Again, I'll be seeing you some other time. Until then, bye bye.